Hey everybody, Kim here with Little Biz Resources. I've got Chrissy on, and now Marjorie is in the audience at the moment. We'll go ahead and do some live Q&A after we get through a little bit of a presentation here this week. And I'm going to try to make this a little bit brief, but it's not, because so we can expand more on it in other videos and in the Facebook group and everything else. But I wanted to talk about, this is something that I've been excited about, and honestly, I'm passionate about automation. And the reason why I'm passionate about automation is that something that takes us 5 minutes and we have to do 20 times is taking us too much time, right? Our efforts should be focused on those things that help our business make money. And if you're doing tedious tasks that can be done by automation, then you can literally multiply your time. So everybody says, I want more time, I want more time. Automation is how you get more time. And I mean, that doesn't make, they're, Cassandra, still a little loud. Sorry, my daughter's right next to me, and she's on with her cousin. They're playing a game. What game are you playing, Cassandra?
Cleaning Simulator.
Cleaning. Is that on Roblox?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So.
And I'm cleaning a bathroom.
You're cleaning a bathroom. That's too bad she won't do that in real life. Anyway, so now, Chrissy, I don't know. I know you do a lot of tasks that can't be automated. It'd be great if you could do a lot of the stuff that you do that's automated. But, for the most part, a lot of the stuff that you do is manual, so it's hard to duplicate. But do you think that there is power in automation for tedious tasks? Like, for example, pinning on Pinterest, so you don't have to do it on your own?
Sure. I don't really do it on my own. No, I was kidding. I do it. Actually, it's part of my thing. I just go in as soon as I create some new listings. You have to wait. The biggest problem is I have to wait if I'm doing it manually. Like on Etsy, I create a listing and then I have to wait for it to show up before I can do anything, or go and find it some other way. And we all know that Etsy doesn't always work right. So waiting or having to roundabout wait, it takes a lot of time just to do all that stuff. So automating that would be great, obviously.
Yeah, so Chrissy doesn't know a lot of the stuff that I do in the back end. And one of the things that I do for both your shop and my shop, shops, I have two, is you have two as well, and I should probably do it with your other one as well, is that I take the RSS feed from Etsy and I put it into, a variety of things. So basically I use the RSS feeds to create backlinks and pins automatically. So that's just one way that you can automate is with an RSS feed. Now, something that is newer, and I cannot remember exactly what it's called. It's robotic. I gotta pull this up, see if I can pull this up and not break the entire computer, because the particular program I'm using for some reason uses a lot of power. So it's called RPA. This is something, it's called, where is it? Robotic Process Automation. And I've heard about this a while ago. My husband was actually telling me about it, and that they are exploring it for use in his world. And I said, this is something that we've been talking about in the make money from home, pick a niche world. And the biggest thing has been, oh, well, you have to hire a VA. And hiring a VA, while sounds great, it's kind of expensive. But RPA up until now, like literally like a month ago, was really expensive. I mean, I think I sent a picture to my husband of one that I found, and it starts at like $750 a month and only lets you run like one set of things for like 24 hours or something, which is still, by the way, not bad, because if you're paying $400 a month for a VA, that takes breaks, and you have to pay bonuses too and everything else, then it's going to cost you less money to have it run basically three VAs in a day if you were to set up all the automation on it. So unfortunately, I don't know very many people who are starting out, and those are the ones starting out are the ones that need, because you can't hire a VA and you're like, hey, I need to open up my time. I need more time to work on the things that I need to work on, whether it's training or, just working on cleaning the house. I can't clean the house and do some of the tasks on the computer at the same time, right? So what I did is I identified a task, which I'm not completely done with, but I'm going to show you just the first part of this that I just figured out, because it's called, the program I'm using is called, let's go ahead and put it on here since I didn't have time to pull up the PowerPoint or anything, is called Power Automate Desktop. And it's from Microsoft. And there's actually an online version as well, but I'm using the desktop version right now. And that's what I have to show today. And this is pretty cool. Now, I'm going to tell you that this is one of those, it's very frustrating when you're newer to automation. And that's just something you have to accept, because like for me, I'm not newer to automation. Like I've used programs like IFTTT, that's it, or IFT, right? This one now costs I think $3.99 a month, but it's good for social media. And like if you want to automate for, I don't know, a bunch of different things, you can do different things like home automation stuff, everything. So what I'm specifically talking about are tasks that you would, like menial tasks that you can't really automate through what they call an API. And an API is basically just a connection. So like Etsy has an API that it exports data from Etsy and you can import it into other things. Now the problem is, and if you've ever heard of Zapier or Integrately or Integrate.io, these are all ones that are automation platforms, but they all rely on an API. Now, the benefit of what I'm going to show you is that you don't need an API, and it basically mimics what you would do on your computer. And what made me excited about this is that there are some tedious tasks that I do that it just drives me insane. And I'm like, if I could just batch these processes, which don't get me wrong, there are a lot of different ways to batch processes, but if you don't know how to do it, it can take a lot of time to figure it out. And a lot of people don't talk about like what I want to do. And one of the things that I was trying to do is that I was trying to create a specific image size. And this, of course, again, your automation has to fit your needs. And it only is a benefit if it's something that needs to be done over and over and over and over again. So for me, I wanted to create a Pinterest pin that was unique, or at least unique enough for all of my images, because I'm no longer, because I'm automating the ones from Etsy, but now I'm like, you know what, now I want unique images that I'm putting on Pinterest so I can gain traction. And while I can use something like Tailwind, I'm like, I had to think about I have Tidal as a music thing on my phone, and if for some reason I mix the two up all the time, probably because they both start with T. But Tailwind lets me schedule the stuff, but it doesn't, and you can even create within it, but I'm like, how can I create faster? So I'm not quite to the point where I'm creating the pins, but I've been able to create the images. And that was where I was like, oh my gosh, that is a tedious task that I shouldn't have to do. And so let me go ahead and move this over so you guys don't get sick. Trying to follow me through all of this, but I'm just going to real quick get some images into the right folder. And then I'll show you the rest of that past that. So I have some images here. Now I will tell you that part of the challenge, this is weird that it's showing me this. I think it's because I'm doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I do this on 2, 3, we'll just do these 4 real quick. Edit, copy. Yeah, I don't know why it's showing me duplicate stuff, and it was doing that earlier. So we just did a bunch of graphics card updates. So it something must be bogging something down for showing it. Anyway, okay, so what I've done is I've put some images here. Now these again are repeating images, so it makes it kind of easy to do. And there may be different things that you have to figure out. And I'm using Adobe Photoshop. My brother uses a different one, and so he does different things. And so we were actually had a discussion about this last night, is that Photoshop, the reason why it's a benefit for me is because I'm trying to actually create a ratio from the image where I want it to crop to a specific ratio outside of the image. That's why I'm using Adobe or Photoshop specifically, because I can't just crop the image, or I can't resize the image because the images are all different sizes. So let me pull this back up so you can see. So what I did is I put this in a folder, And these are all pictures that I've taken, right? So I've got these 4 images here. And what I want to do is I want them to be a specific size so I can create a pin with it. So what I did is I'm going to pull this over. It's going to look a little confusing at first, but just understand that you don't need to know what all this means at this moment. This is just going to show you what I did to build this. So this is, it's literally from scratch. You get to tell it every single one of these commands. And there is something called a user interface or UI, where you can use the desktop recorder and it can basically push the buttons for you. I can't get it to work in Photoshop. Now, the online version has a connection with Adobe stuff, but not a lot of them, just a couple of them. So so Microsoft's been working on this for a while, but they released it like free for anybody who has Windows 10 Pro and up. And if you're like, hey, I don't have Windows 10 Pro, then I will have to track down the link, but there's a couple of places that sell it for like somewhere between 25 and 35 bucks. So, and it's a one-time fee. So it's not like you have to go out and go buy a $400 version of Microsoft to be able to get this. But it's, like I said, it's free. And then of course you have to have a Microsoft account to be able to, and most people do. Most people who have computers have one. Just Kim, for some reason, uses a different login process. So my brother and I had a discussion about that too. And he was giving me total crap for not being updated. Anyway, so what you do is you come in here and you give it all the commands. Now, I'm not going to bother walking through what these commands are because that's just tedious and time consuming and pointless right now. But if that's something you guys, I'll do a video on how to do this if somebody's interested. And then that way and then if you want to, you can follow along in the video. So what I do is I'm going to come into this and I'm just going to hit run because this is a test. I tested it really quick, literally 2 minutes before I got on. I was like, oh my gosh, I finally got it to work. So we're going to see. So I'm going to hit run and we're going to see it live on the screen. Because you can see the Adobe side, right? The Photoshop side.
I think that's what I'm looking at. It says Photoshop top.
Okay, so I'm going to hit play or run, I should say, and see what happens. Oh, cross my fingers. So what it's doing is it's going to get the folder. It's going to grab the files and you can see it's cropping it. And there's a couple of pauses in it because my computer gets bogged down and hopefully the pauses are good enough with us being live that it won't get hung up anywhere. But basically what I did is it opened, it cropped to the ratio, it saved it. Now it's going to the next image, cropping to the ratio, waiting because again, like I said, there's a couple spots where it gets hung up. And if for some reason my computer goes slow or whatever, I don't want it to stop the whole process. So that was the second one. And now it's going to go in and do the third one. Now, remember, this is something that once it's set up, I can now, put 100 images, 200 images in there or whatever, walk away and go do something else, go do dishes, go exercise, something else. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to do this on the same computer if I'm doing something else. So this is just kind of a benefit at this point, at least in my process. Now, there are ways to make it work in the background and everything else, but I don't think my computer can handle that. It's an older computer. So how many was that? 3 now? 1 more maybe? Nope, that was it. And then what it did, if you remember, we had they were in this folder, it moved it into this other folder. So it did it all on my own. So now I can come back and I'm going to create a process, hopefully, that will take them from this folder or from wherever else I decide to put them. And it will make them so that they go into a pin and hopefully get created and placed. Now that's going to be a lot more complicated, but just to be able to do that, I mean, think about that. That's a lot of tedious, time-consuming activities that it's done and it's free, right? So it's something that I just put on my computer. I'm going to be doing dishes and I'm going to be making dinner and stuff all the time anyway. So as I get that done, I can put it in there. It does that for me. It's made it the size for the pins that I want. Now you're like, hey, Kim, I don't want to do pins. The whole idea was just to show you that this automation exists. So Christy, do you think that's kind of cool at all?
Can you do more than just crop it for a picture?
Yeah, like I could do a lot of stuff. So I could do.
Can you do like a shape or something?
Yeah, it just kind of depends. So here's the way that with Photoshop, that's kind of a pain. I'm just gonna do a blank thing here. See, and this is the thing. So all the settings and everything are set up for something. It's gonna bring in the defaults. So for me, what I found is that normally with the UI, you're supposed to be able to say, oh yeah, click this button here to crop, but it wouldn't crop. So I'd use all shortcuts. So that's the hardest problem for me, has been finding shortcuts. So theoretically, like if you wanted to open an image, let's just go into one of these that I did. We'll say we want to do this image and we wanted to, I don't know, do a shape from it. There are ways to do it. I don't even know how to do shapes myself anyway, but you could, you can have preset set. And so what I would usually do is I would have the shape already, and then I would do an overlay anyway. That's how I normally do it, but everybody does things a little bit different based on who they followed. So sorry, I'm trying to, oh yeah, Marjorie mentions you're gonna have to hit OK every time when it is saving in Photoshop. Yeah, no, I actually, it's the, yeah, you do have to hit OK, but that's where, when you find it, and you saw that's how I was able to go through them all. If you look in my automation, if I can pull it up real quick, I actually have the enter button or return, whichever one you want to call it. So right here, it's enter. So it asks me at some point, so I said crop, and then I had to hit enter twice in order to have it. So I'm gonna enter, and then I hit the Control S to save it. And so that auto saves it. But then it pops up with a window that asks you like what size you want to. And again, these are all settings that you can change in Photoshop, but you have to know what the settings mean, when they mean it. And of course, if you mess them up one way, you have to default them and start all over again. So I just left it the way it was, and so I waited for it to pop up, because sometimes the save takes a little bit of time. And then I told it to hit the number, okay, that was weird. I told it to hit the number 10, and then I hit enter again, right? So 10, enter, and then I waited just to make sure in case there's some sort of delay on it. And then I hit the Control W to close it, and then it opens the next one, does it all over again. And so this is kind of, to me, I mean, it took a little bit of time to figure it out, and that was because I was so stuck on trying to use the UI. I finally gave up and I said, okay, fine, what are my commands? And when I did that, it was, I don't know, 10 minutes to put it together. I mean, 10 minutes to put that together. I think it saved me more time than that, just doing those 4 images, because it takes a while to go file open, or even if you bulk open or whatever your processes are, it's a manual process. So if something you can walk away and save yourself, you know, for me, this is probably an hour a day, maybe saving, once I get all the processes done. And that's because I'm gonna have multiple images. I'm gonna do it all over again for different sizes. Right, so I can do different sizes, and then eventually, like I said, the goal is to, I don't know, I may end up using Photoshop again, since that I know that works, but I'm going to try to integrate it with some online things as well. So I just barely downloaded this a couple of days ago, and sorry, I'm looking for a thing to type real quick. We're going to do Word and hope that it comes up eventually. So between Zoom and that Power Automate Desktop, it really bogs down my computer. But all right, so that was the automation stuff. So I want to talk about that and say, hey, this is what we're working on. This is something that we've been exploring. There's some other automation I've been working on with some different things. Like I have not been able to confirm because I forgot to go in and check, but I think I have a way to pull the emails. I have a way to pull the emails out of Etsy and put them into other autoresponders rather than just Aweber, because isn't it Aweber that connects with them, Chrissy? They have
with Etsy?
Yeah, they have the integration already built in.
Yeah, there's, well, if you want to call it that, yeah, you have to go in. I can't remember how to do it now, but yeah, that's the one that they suggest is connected.
Yeah, so I'll do a video on it because I have to actually get Aweber for a different program. I hate Aweber, but a lot of people, it's really easy for them to integrate, so they use it. And unfortunately, if you end up getting certain programs will only integrate with Aweber. So again, it's not a very fun email marketing platform for me, but like I use one called Mailvio, and that's an integration where you take from Etsy. So you go from Etsy to get to Mailvio, I have to go to Etsy to integration. I can't remember which one is which. So integration 1, which takes it into Google Sheets, and it pulls just the data that I want. And then it goes into integration 2, which pulls from Google Sheets and puts it into Mailvio. So it's, as far as I can tell, I think it's either free or maybe $10 a month. Of course, that's in addition to the Mailview cost, which is closed right now, so that's pointless. But with the way that this is working, that you can go to Etsy and you can go straight to Active Campaign, I think is one of them that it'll do, or Get Response, or there's like 4 others. I think Sendio, or I don't know. There's like others. Mailchimp is one. So like, and that's in that first integration. Again, I can't remember which ones they are because I've used so many of them the last couple of weeks. But what's great about this is that what I'm trying to do ultimately is that when somebody that places an Etsy order, and this is probably really small to see. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Right. So what I'm trying to do is that when somebody places an order, so we'll do Etsy order. It goes into Mailview, which is email marketing, right? And then what they get is they get an email, so automatic email with whatever I want it to say. Now you can go into Etsy and you can customize some stuff, but I'm going to tell you now that whatever Etsy sends them, I've never had any positive results from whatever the Etsy email sends them. So like I've never had anybody join an email list. I've never heard anything from what Etsy sends. Now Chrissy has used Aweber, which is the integration, and she does have some people every now and again join her email list. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it, and I do not know if this can happen on Aweber or not. That'll be part of my testing, but they will get an automatic email with information about the rewards program. Okay. And this, so what'll happen is if you guys saw I'm using Rewardsly, and what I do is I have the program set up and then I generate the QR codes and I'm just going to email them the information. The other thing is that the QR codes are all the same. So if I set up a QR code with 10 points, that QR code is 10 points is the same no matter who I send it to. And so if I can get that URL, I may just do that and do a shortened link instead, because I think that the QR code may be putting people off a little bit. But the physical one has gone out, and the problem is I cannot remember to put it into every order. In fact, sent all the orders out yesterday and then had them sitting there all taped up, and I looked over, I went, oh crap, I forgot to put those in. So it's tough when it relies on you. So that's again where automation kind of like it helps offset that whole human variable, right? So if I can make this and have it automatically send it, that's great. The other thing it does is that I get to capture the emails and especially if they join something, right? So if you get them to join your whatever marketing element you have and they've agreed to receive marketing, you can now use those emails. So Etsy does not, Cassandra, getting loud. I know, but you're getting loud. Daddy said dinner anyway. You need to go up and eat dinner. Okay. Anyway, so Rewardsly is it generates the QR codes and everything. Sorry, I just totally sidetracked myself with that. So the point is that when they get onto your email list, so Etsy does not let you, they're not your customers, they're Etsy customers, right? So Etsy purchases are Etsy customers. And this is according to their terms of service. I'm going to tell you now, I would not be surprised if they eventually, not anytime soon, because they don't have a very good grasp on technology, but I expect eventually they're going to do the same thing that Amazon did and take away that customer information. So yeah, you're gonna get their name, you're gonna get their address, and you're gonna get their phone number possibly, but you're not going to get their email. And the reason why Amazon does that is because it's an Amazon customer. Etsy has the same policies. They just don't have the same technology in place. So Etsy says, look, this is an Etsy customer, but we expect you to be able to communicate between them. And for whatever reason, they've decided that the email is still valid on that, even though they have their messaging platform. But you are not supposed to use those emails for marketing purposes in any way, which means that just because they made a purchase from you through Etsy does not give you the right to use their email on platforms like Facebook, and where you can build, retargeting audiences or lookalike audiences, right? Lookalike. I don't know how it's spelled. Anyway, so you got your retargeting audiences, you lookalike audiences. You cannot build those from your customer list if it's through Etsy. You need them to join your marketing list and agree to get marketing from you. And then you're no longer violating anything on Facebook. You're not violating anything on Etsy. You're not violating anything on Google. You're not violating anything anywhere, right? Because they have agreed to receive marketing messages from you. So whether you want to email them or you don't want to email them, if you want to capture their emails as your emails, you should be having them opt into a list. And of course, then you should probably want to email them. But even if you don't want to email them, you still need to have them opt in to something, and whether that's, hey, get this free item or enter our sweepstakes or whatever it is, something that they agree to the marketing from you. And whether you never send them an email again is irrelevant. So this is part of the challenge that we've seen a lot of people have. They're like, oh, well, I'm just going to use the Etsy emails. Technically, if they get caught, they can have their Etsy account shut down. They can have legal ramifications. They can have, civil ramifications. It's just, there's a lot of different elements because it's private data that are just coming into play. And I haven't seen anybody get majorly slapped yet for using the emails off of Etsy, but I don't know that anybody would volunteer that information in the first place. I know that there are accounts that get shut down randomly. And then when you start diving into their tactics, they mention, oh, well, I was getting their emails and targeting them on Facebook. And it's like, well, that could have done it. And so, I don't know. I don't know what the level is. And so it's better to be safe and do it right than it is to just say, well, I can cheat, so why not? And I think for most people, they want to do it the right way. And that's the right way is you can send them a one-time email saying, thank you for your order. And would you like to join my list? They already have that set up through Aweber. Now, the next step is getting them to opt in. So that's another thing we've been kind of working on for automation purposes, at least, is the email stuff. So let's see, what else? Well, Chrissy, you and I have been testing Etsy versus Etsy Plus versus Pattern by Etsy, right? That's what they call them.
Yes, Pattern by Etsy.
So we've only been doing this for, I don't know, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that now, maybe longer, but let's just go 2 weeks. Initial thoughts.
Mine or yours?
Yours.
Oh, with what part of it? The pattern?
Well, just the differences, like what are your initial thoughts? Like, is it anything you've noticed or you're pleased with or anything?
Okay, so let's start. So obviously Etsy is the marketplace. That's the main site. People come to that one. That's where they search. If you use Etsy Plus, you're not taken off of that. That's just an addition to Etsy, obviously.
Right.
I'm trying to remember where it is.
Yeah, so what we did was so Chrissy and I both are like, hey, we need to see what's going on with our shops and how we can drive more traffic, et cetera, et cetera. That's always the goal, right? So I put my account onto Etsy Plus and she opened up a Pattern by Etsy. So Pattern by Etsy is actually your own website. So this would be something similar to like a Shopify substitute. Now, there are some significant differences between Shopify and Pattern by Etsy, but a lot of them don't apply to the average Etsy seller. So like we were talking about this is that there's like one example. So we've talked about automation, right? And I pull an RSS feed from Etsy. Pattern by Etsy does not have an RSS feed. Shopify does have an RSS feed. I don't think it's RSS, I think it's ATOM, but whatever. And it is a type of automation feed that you can use. You can run it through FeedBurner, make an XML, and be basically everywhere. But if any of that meant nothing, doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about that. The whole point is that a lot of the marketing stuff that normal people would do, you can't do with Pattern by Etsy because they just don't have it built in there, and I don't know why. I think it's the way they built their site, but the biggest benefit, at least to me, is that your Pattern by Etsy, so it's its own shop. It's your own shop, It integrates, I'm running out of, it integrates the inventory, right? So this is something you can't really do that well with Shopify. In fact, it's a huge complaint that Shopify, WooCommerce, no matter what you're doing. In fact, we tried to do it with WooCommerce. So initially, this is what we were doing: is we were setting up WooCommerce to be able to integrate with Etsy, because we're like, oh, hey, WooCommerce is a great idea. We can, run our blog on WordPress, everything else. And the biggest challenge we had was integrating the inventory, because if you're using Etsy's API, which is the connection that, the export data from there / import data from wherever you're at, there's going to be like a max amount of time or minimum amount of time, et cetera, that it takes. And most of the places, even though they say 5 minutes, they have found that the delay between Etsy sending that sale over to another website is 15 minutes plus. And I read somewhere that Etsy has limitations.
Well,
And
Etsy has
so,
their own internal delays as it is too. So like if
right.
somebody, because it's processing and so it hangs up, et cetera. So there's a lot of already time in that,
Yeah. And so a lot of people who have tested, they're like, yeah, I'll get a sale on Etsy and it'll be half an hour before it updates my site. And they're like, I have the integration set for 1 minute or whatever. And it's just, there's just, because of that API, that Etsy's API is a joke in that whole automation world. So if you're like, hey, inventory is critical, because if you're doing digital products, or you're like in the case of EP Laser, where we're manufacturing our own, or we were, then it's not as critical, because we can, like for EP Laser, we just, oh, hey, let's just make another, oh, who cares? We sold an extra one, we'll just cut another one. Right? It wasn't the end of the world. Whereas if you have a finite amount of inventory and you're like, you have 10 of these, and when 10 of them sell, that's all you have, you cannot sell more than 10. That's a critical point that you want to make sure your inventory is accurate. And Pattern by Etsy uses the Etsy cart and Etsy, inventory system. That's its whole platform is built on that. So all the Pattern by Etsy is it's your side to kind of show off what you want and how you want to do. So but here's another thing that you can do with Pattern by Etsy that you cannot do with Etsy or Etsy Plus or anything, is that you can run your own external advertising or marketing or anything else straight to Etsy, to your Pattern by Etsy site. So let's say you have your own domain. Right now, this is something that Etsy Plus goes, you can have your own domain. You can do that with a regular Etsy, and all they're doing is forwarding, right? For Etsy and Etsy Plus, they're just forwarding it, because it's still just Etsy, it's just the marketplace. But when you're Pattern by Etsy, you can have a listing on there that's not necessarily in the marketplace. You can have stuff that's not that goes outside of the scope of Etsy. So let's say you wanted to sell something outside of the vintage or handmade, right? Or I guess it's not really technically handmade
Oh,
anymore.
yeah.
But
Okay, so here's a good example, right? I want to sell like little gift items sometimes. And like I have a reseller license, right? So maybe I want to go buy a bunch of those little 80s retro, the little mini ones that they remade. And they've got like, there's little toys or whatever. I cannot technically buy those and resell them because they're not a supply. I had nothing to do with the craft process, etc. I cannot sell on Etsy, but I could put it in my pattern shop.
yeah, and that's a kind of a big thing for Etsy sellers, because they always want to expand, right? So there is a benefit to being on there. Now, again, that won't be on the marketplace, but you can drive your own traffic. Now, something else, I'm going to show this if I can. Again, this is one of those tricks, if I can get it to work here. So I am probably logged into Pinterest and don't want to log out, but I'm going to go into, and I'm also probably logged into, in fact, let me do this so I'm not logged in, because I don't want to show it as logged in. Yeah, I think I'm logged in as EP Laser. Okay, so now I'm logged out of Etsy on this browser. So I'm going to go to my, well, my pins here. So let's say that I want to go to this one right here. Let's say I want to go here, and this is not, let's say it's not mine, but we know it is, but I'm going to go to this. And so I'm in Pinterest and I click on it. When it brings it up into Etsy, now watch it. No, it did it. I was gonna say it won't do it, but no, it did it. So it's showing me similar items. Now, granted, these are mine for once, but I don't want this. This is not the way you're supposed to do marketing, right? This is a big no-no in marketing. You want congruency. You want your pin to match the landing page. This does not match the landing page because they put all these similar items before. Now, this might be something they've changed, because the fact that they're showing all mine is interesting. Still, this is not what you want for marketing, right? You want it to go to the exact product. That's the way it's supposed to be. If you want recommended products, it can go below it. But for the congruency, for your mind, the way that psychologically it goes is that if there are too many differences between what you're seeing here and what you're going to, then that's just a huge barrier, right? They're going to say no. So the idea is that you want to keep it that way, but we have no control over that. That is Etsy doing that. And it looks like they're testing, because like I said, last time it wasn't all my products. And that could just be because I'm logged out. I don't know, but I've seen other people's products put before mine, and that's just, I think, wrong. So I think that the benefit of Pattern by Etsy is that you can be on both the Etsy marketplace and on Pattern for those products. And instead of building your pins to a page that isn't congruent, you can send it straight to your Pattern by Etsy one. And again, that you can have your own domain. So like if I want to be, so on Etsy, I'm etsy.com/shop/ whatever the shop name is, right? But on Pattern by Etsy, I'm literally whatever I want to be. If I want to be IamAmazing.com, which is probably taken, that could be my, or myamazingshop.com, probably still taken, then that would be your URL, but you're still on the Etsy platform as far as people can check out. They can, I haven't tried using coupons or anything. I just barely started. I switched mine over. So the benefits of Etsy Plus are minimal. In fact, that's what I was telling Chrissy. I said, half the stuff they say you can do, there's no instructions. You can change your banner. And I'm like, but how? And what do I do? And where do I put it?
Yeah, there's a lot of lack of instructions, but you do know you get so it's what, $10 a month, right? Is that what we said?
Yeah.
It's $10 a month, but then you get 15 credits, which is like $3 or whatever, and then you get $5 in advertising credits. So if you advertise, it's sometimes worth it, but it's still $2 more than what if you would have paid for those separately. So for $2 more, what do you get? You get ways to customize your shop. So if that's worth it, it's worth it to you. Restock requests. Now this is hit and miss on whether this is a good idea or not, obviously, because your old stuff doesn't always get boosted as well as creating a whole new listing. But but for saving time, obviously, if you found something that's exactly the same, then or you're creating it yourself, then obviously if somebody puts in a restock request, then you know that there's some demand, you can recreate those or whatever. But they did a test run of this back in the day, and so like over 3/4 of my listings have the restock requests without ever having Etsy Plus. So I don't know if that's really like absolutely, like they might automatically do that anyway. I don't know. But custom web address, which you and I have discussed, and you can discuss that. And then this is access a discount on custom packaging or promotional materials, which I do not think is worth $2 a month, obviously, because you can get that anywhere. But what you're basically paying that $2 a month for is then your customizing your shop.
Yeah. Which, for $2
And there's
a month,
obviously
sure.
no information on that.
Right. There's no,
yeah, I
that's
mean,
the thing is that
but that's
eventually,
if you're using the advertising.
that's true.
If you don't use advertising at all, then you can lose that $5 a month anyway.
Yeah. And I turned my advertising on because of this, and I had off for the holidays, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I can turn that back on. And right now I haven't made any money from advertising. I did a couple sales, but it was basically like my costs were the same as what the sales were, which is not great.
I've always found that with advertising on Etsy, I break even. That's it. I never make money. I just break even.
Well, when I first started last year, right before the holidays, I actually did, it was like a 20% cost. And so I was at 15% before I dropped down to 12% for the marketing for the external ads. So I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and I think I had gotten it down to like 18%. And so I was fine with it because the percentage was just a little bit, but then October hit, right? So October, November, December, those are the 3 months that are the worst for the holidays. And it literally, all of a sudden I was 50%. And I was like, okay, I'm not making any money. Literally, I'm not making any money. It's like a break even, barely, maybe. And so I said, in this case, like the one I just started, I think I started it like a week ago, and I'm only like $3 a day. And what I found the first time the same thing happened is that I had to run it for like 2 or 3 weeks before it started to actually make money, before I started to get that number to the point where I was like, oh, okay, this is making sense. And they do kind of warn you of this when you run ads on Etsy, is that they're like, well, we kind of need time for our algorithm. They don't, but that's what they claim. We need time for our algorithm to kick in. And so they must just have some sort of trigger where they're like, we need you to run this for X amount of days and give us that money to prove that you're worthy before we start sending enough sales your way. Because this is the second time it's done it, and there's no reason why they don't have enough data with my store to be able to just, oh, I trigger your turn to ads on, okay, we know who to send them to. You know, they have more than enough data for that with my store. And so the fact that it costs so much in advertising to find the buyers is internally is ridiculous. And I honestly think worthy of somebody to launch an investigation, because that's something they have to have turned on to say, look, we want to make sure that we're getting, 5 days of advertising before they start making money or whatever it is. So I did a couple of sales. I think actually,
well, we know their advertising stuff is really sketchy as it is, being forced into advertising, marketing stuff that we know they pay very minimal for.
Right, that's the external advertising. So the
advertising. That's what I'm saying.
advertising,
So their advertising in general is
Yeah.
is very sketchy to begin with. So
well, and it is a benefit to people who want to do it and don't know how, but it's not a benefit to people who don't want to do it, because like 80% of traffic comes internally. And so now somebody comes in through, and there's no audit process. That's the other thing. There is no audit process. So it's frustrating. But if you're on Etsy Plus and you are running ads and you plan on running ads and you're getting that $5 credit, then yeah, I mean, between that and the listing, the credits for the listings, you really only are paying $2 a month. And there is a significant benefit if you could figure out the stupid banner. So I might turn it back on. It's on right now still because it's paid for through the month. But if I can't figure out that banner in a fast enough time frame, I'm just going to give up, because I'm like, because they tell you can do this, but they don't give you a step-by-step on how to do it. So it's a lot of experimenting
well, they might have information out there and it's just really hard to find. That's what most of their information that's out there is super hard to find. That's the problem with them too.
Right. Well, the other thing is that it's supposed to be where they can click on, like, let's say you have a banner with images on it. They're supposed to be able to click on a spot and it'll take them to the listing. And that sounds great, but I'm sitting there going, how many people go to the page with the banner on it? Because it's not there normally. So if they're going to a listing, there's no banner. And so that's how most people come in, is through a listing. So it's kind of a gamble, but for $2 a month, it's not a horrible thing if you're running the ads and you're getting enough sales or you're posting enough stuff. But at the same time, we've tested some other stuff. Like they flat out tell you, Etsy tells you, when you have a new listing or you have a renewed listing, that they give you like this boost in visibility. And I was telling Chrissy, I said, they can't possibly be true, because I had gotten in a bunch of stock from her to stock my store, and everybody was here. We were listing, literally, I think we listed I don't know, maybe 30, 35 new items, maybe even 40. We ended up between new and renewed out of stock stuff. So that would be like renewed listings. We had to have listed over 100 of those. And even if you're only doing a couple of views a day for like 3 days, with 100 listings, you should be up in the 300, 400, 500 views a day then. And I actually dropped in views. And I was like, I already have 900. I have like 900 listings. And I'm like, there's no reason why I shouldn't be getting a couple hundred views a day anyway. And to have them drop after I relisted everything, that is Etsy not doing what they said. And so there's
I feel like mine always drop after I list new stuff too.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Is
like
they tell you, Yeah, they tell you though, their words are, you will get a small boost in views when you first list. And that's clearly
no,
not true.
I don't.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
don't either.
I definitely don't.
So there's no, to me, I mean, and that's the same thing on EP Laser. I don't get hardly any views anyway, because I have like 9 items on there. And that kind of sucks, because you're like, hey, I only have 9 items to sell. And that's not entirely true with EP Laser. It just happens to be that's what I committed to on Etsy, because I don't want to deal with it. And I do way better on Amazon. So, but you go in there and I'm like, oh yeah, I've had 10 views in like a day, and I add a new item, then the next day I get like 0 views. And I'm like, how is this? That shouldn't even be the case, because you should get creative and put me in front of other words or something. And the thing is that with the shop that, not EP Laser, but the other shop I have, there's no reason why they can't be showing me for generic terms at the bare minimum. And if they were, then my not views to my listing, but views overall, like showing that particular thing in the search results or something, should be a lot higher. So we know that is something that they have said, okay, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, and then they don't. But what we have been able to confirm, and this is something that Chrissy has noticed, I've noticed, and people started talking about back in 2018, is that the more active you are in your shop, which means like, so listings and renewing stuff is probably activity, but for some reason they seem to like other things, like loading new images, adapting your titles, adapting your tags, adjusting your description, just being in your Etsy shop itself, right? They're like, hey, we
They are
want you in
promoting
there.
that right now. They actually have it on my dashboard. It says, did I clear it out? Basically it was saying upload new video or new pictures and add videos, because they really want people to add videos right now.
Yeah, I can tell you that I only had like, at Christmas time, I had like 3 or 4 things that had videos with it. And I had, my visibility on those was 0. Like I didn't get anything. In fact, one of them was should have been more popular. And I was like, why is it not getting any views? And then one day it was on there for like 2 months. And then finally it started selling. And I was like, this is weird. They're obviously not giving everybody in every spot. You know, there's
No, and
specific
they
niches.
sprinkle in the randomness too. So like, even though I don't know if they even tell us anymore, but back when they started doing it, they said, because people were complaining, hey, I'm paying for this advertising, why am I seeing random non-advertised products that have like 0 sales in their stores and everything? Why are we seeing this in the, up with our advertising stuff? And they said, oh, we want everybody to have a chance to sell, so we're just putting random shops in there that associate to that keyword or whatever. And so they wanted to give everyone a shot, because they were saying that it's not fair that some people can dominate based off of keyword and stuff like that. So they were like, so certain spots were like random, and they still do that, because you can do a keyword in there and all of a sudden the shop who's been around for maybe a year or 2, but with like 2 sales, all of a sudden they're showing up on page 1. And you're like, why? They're not selling anything. They may not even be that active, and they're still doing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish my shop would get a lot of that, but
Right. Well, and it does seem to be, and a lot of people have complained about this, the more sales you get, the more activity you get to your shop, the more Etsy wants you to do it externally and bring people in. And again, there is no benefit to that if they're going to be putting other people's products above you. Now, like I said, it was interesting that one was all me this time. So maybe they've corrected that, because I've sent in multiple complaints about this and feedback, whatever. And so it's, if somebody actually read it and said, oh, you know what, that's probably true, we need to tweak that, maybe. But even still, I would rather have the congruency there, so that way people purchase. So that's something else that we've been working on, is trying to figure out the ideal next steps on Etsy. You know, obviously if you're just getting started and you're just, hey, I just need to get started on Etsy, then just be regular Etsy. Don't worry about paying for any upgrades. Don't worry about Plus. Don't worry about Pattern, unless there's, you already have a strategy in place. You already have a store built up or something. You're just trying to move to it. That's one thing. But there are some advantages, and then there's some disadvantages to Pattern. So I don't know. I think Shopify is a lot harder to learn. Pattern is really easy. I had the site set up in like 3.5 minutes.
I'm
And
still
that was,
playing with the themes on it because I can't quite get one I like, but
oh, at least it
yeah.
lets you select one. It told me select one. It wouldn't let me select anything but the
Oh,
main.
I was gonna say that there's been some glitches in that too, because I've gone through and I was like, okay, I select it, and then it's like giving me a different one, and I'm like, what? So then I have to go back in and do it all over again. Then I've done it to where like I click one and it shows me a totally different one, and I'm like, that's not right. I know that's not right. That didn't look anything like it. And then I'll click out and click back in, and so there's definitely problems with it, and it takes a little bit more time. But I've had it for not even 2 weeks, right? And I've already had a sale through them. So, or through my main site, right now main site, because that has all the Etsy listings plus all the ones that I had, well, yeah, basically all the ones I had on Shopify. Now we figured out it was about 120 listings on Shopify. I was still getting an order or two every other month or so, without any external advertising. I didn't do anything. It just was out there basically. And that's just the way my products do, luckily. And I'm pushing over from Etsy to that website also, so that could be some of it. But the fact that I was able to get, someone messaged me about a listing that I only had on Etsy, and basically they found it through that site, even though it was on Etsy. So they found it through Snap Baby Store, which is amazing that they even found it, but that was like within less than 2 weeks of putting that up. Now, since then, my sales have completely plummeted, but that could just be time of the year. So
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced of that, but I don't know. We'll see. Like I said,
Etsy's punishing me for making a sale on my other website.
I don't know, but it's funny because we had the day where it's like 0 sales, right? And
Yeah.
then
Oh
your
no, we know there was
sales,
an outage that day.
right? And your sales are normally like triple what mine are. And then I was like yesterday, I think it was, I had a bunch of sales and I was going, oh, this is pretty good. And then even though today it slowed back down, but I was like, hey, this is not too bad, not too bad. And then I went into it when I was doing the things. I went, oh my gosh, like half this is from advertising.
Yeah.
Internally advertising, which means that they're not showing the products they're not showing it, and they should be showing it, right? If it's going to sell, they should be showing it. So I don't know if it's all of a sudden some competition has entered or what the deal is, but the fact that the advertising is beating out organic should not be that way with Etsy. So, I mean, I know they do that for money, and that's their whole CEO's purpose, but all right. So we are continuing with the Etsy course. I'd hoped to have it updated, but there are some significant enough changes that we were hesitant to push out the new content without clarifying some of it first. So we're still working on that. That should be coming hopefully soon. Again, when Etsy does this stuff where they go all of a sudden go, oh, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. And we start going, you know what? I don't know. We want to really test that. We don't want to be like, hey, do this and it not work. And that's what is happening, is that we're following the guidance and it's not working. So that means that we have to find the right solution. And so that's what our goal is, to make it so that you have the least amount of effort and the most amount of success, right? That's what we all want to do. And the guidance from Etsy is not making that happen. So, and the last thing I wanted to cover is there's a new, and I kind of briefly mentioned this in the Facebook group. It's called FunnelMates. And FunnelMates is not, even though they kind of imply it, is not really it's for funnels. So claims to be a ClickFunnels alternative, but it's not. They're different. And the reason I say that is because I'm still going to keep ClickFunnels. I have FunnelMates now, but FunnelMates is more for two ends, right? So if you are into affiliate marketing, you can go on there and you can get some really cool either pre-built funnels, or just to kind of like, it's a cheaper version to ClickFunnels. And so you can do easy, simple affiliate marketing type stuff in there. The other side is if you're a vendor. Now, this is where I think that, and I will say they do have some glitches. They're working on them, but this is where I think the true value lies, is the fact that what they've done is they put this together so that a vendor can come in and they can build a front end funnel for their product. So for example, let's say that you are selling dog leashes and you're like, hey, I want affiliates to sell my dog leashes. So you as the vendor, you come into FunnelMates and you create a free giveaway in the funnel. So I don't mean a product, right? It'd be definitely digital, but let's say that you're like, okay, I'm going to give you 10 and let's say you have a special leash, right? It's a special leash. So I don't know if those exist, but let's just pretend. So you come in and you go, okay, I'm going to build this funnel where I'm going to let people, affiliates, I'm going to let affiliates give away this digital, I don't know, checklist for how to, leash train a dog in the top 15 things to do or something. I don't know. I haven't had a dog in a while, and so bear with me. So let's say you have that and it's something that's in demand. You're like, okay, I'm going to build the funnel. And so you build this funnel so that they have the opt-in come in and they have the delivery within FunnelMates. Okay. And so what happens is, let's say that then an affiliate comes along and says, oh, hey, I want to go ahead and promote that. I will take your free funnel and I'm now going to push it out to my list, or I'm going to promote it whatever way, because it'll have their affiliate link in it for the products that it pushes to. So your products eventually, but you also get so everybody who uses your funnel, you get the emails from them as well. So, and I can't do it here as well as I can, but I cannot open. So let's say they have an opt-in, right? So the affiliate offers the opt-in. So the opt-in captures the email. And then it goes to the delivery of the free product. And then it goes to the first affiliate product offer. Okay. And then of course that would be the rest of your funnel for your sales side. Now, as a vendor, you create this and everybody who uses it, you get the emails as well. So it goes into their list and your list because you created the funnel and then you gave it to them for free. And then on top of that, not only do you get these opt-ins for this free product, but they're then directed specifically to promote your product. So this is where I go, okay, the tactic itself is interesting, but then, and I think it's very effective. I'm not too keen as an affiliate on the vendors getting it for the free offers. I'm not happy about that. But you just build your own funnel then, right? If you're like, hey, I like this, but I don't want to, or you buy a funnel, whichever. So you can build funnels and sell them and everything else. So it's kind of neat. The FunnelMates environment is kind of neat in that way. But the other thing is that what FunnelMates has done is it has taken and made basically a marketplace of affiliates, not just for affiliates, but of affiliates, right? So as a vendor, I can go in and say, look, I want, and now normally you can do that anyway. You can go on to JVZoo, but it's just people who use JVZoo, right? So people who are following JVZoo, or you go and you put it on Muncheye, and the people who know about Muncheye, they can find you and they can do that. So you can still find affiliates to promote your product. But the difference is, in this case, you're building a relationship with those affiliates by offering them a free funnel and offering them that quality experience for their users. So you're helping them and you're having an entire marketplace of people who are eager to promote products. Right? They may not be very good at it. Not all of them, at least. That's the way affiliates are, right? Some affiliates are good, some affiliates are not so good. It's just kind of the way it is. But to have this entire ecosystem here of affiliates where you can go and say, hey, I have this product, they can scroll through the funnels, find your funnel. I mean, it's super easy. And it's whether you're on JVZoo, whether you're on ClickBank, whether you're on Warrior Plus. I mean, it doesn't matter because now, and that was a whole thing. Everybody needs to be on ClickBank. Oh, you have to, if you're going to vendor, you're going to be on ClickBank because that's where all the affiliates are. Well, all the affiliates were on JVZoo until JVZoo made their changes and ClickBank said, whoops, we're going to make our changes and try to bring everybody back. And they did. And so, but then Warrior Plus, which has a completely different environment, those people are missing out on stuff because they're only on Warrior Plus. So that's where this is kind of a unique opportunity for vendors. So if you're like, hey, I'm interested in being a vendor at some point, I recommend you check that out eventually. The launch is closed, so I'm pretty sure the price is set for now. I don't think they have any plans of increasing it until they get some of their stuff fixed. So you've got time, and of course I'll be doing more videos and stuff on it as I get to play with it. But one of the things they have to fix is one of the things that I need them to fix before I can continue on. So I can't even do any more videos until that show how to do it until they get that part fixed, which hopefully will be soon, like in the next couple days. So it's very fun. I think it's a fun product for both affiliates and vendors. So, all right, we have run over quite a bit already. So let us see here if I can find the right buttons.